welcome. Tonight, Britain's new monarch, King Charles III, renews his mother's lifelong promise of service in his first address to the nation ahead of his official public proclamation. Tributes continue to pour in for Queen Elizabeth II and the royal family from all over the world, a day after the death of Britain's longest reigning monarch. President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurates Presidential Committee on National Economy as he seeks to address the issue of crude oil theft. And leaders commit to a productive agricultural ecosystem to achieve food security on the continent as the African Green Revolution Forum closes in Kigali.
And on business news tonight, Nigeria's forex reserves fall after 3 consecutive weeks of increase.
On sports news tonight, all matches in England this weekend, including the Premier League, Scottish leagues and grassroots football, have been postponed following the death of Queen Elizabeth II.
And from Abuja, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, assures on strengthening its result management mechanism ahead of the 2023 general elections.
King Charles III has addressed the nation from Buckingham Palace after the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The new king renewed his mother's lifelong promise of service, saying her dedication never wavered. He said his son William would become the Prince of Wales, while his wife Catherine becoming the Princess of Wales. The king also mentioned his other son, Prince Harry, expressing his love for him and Meghan.
Throughout her life, Her Majesty the Queen, my beloved mother, was an inspiration, an example to me and to all my family. And we owe her the most heartfelt debt any family could owe to their mother, for her love, affection, guidance, understanding, and example. Queen Elizabeth was a life well lived, a promise with destiny kept, and she is mourned most deeply in her passing. That promise of lifelong service I renew to you all today. Alongside the personal grief that all my family are feeling, we also share with so many of you in the United Kingdom, in all the countries where the Queen was head of state, in the Commonwealth, and across the world, a deep sense of gratitude for the more than 70 years in which my mother, as Queen, served the people of so many nations. In 1947, on her 21st birthday, she pledged in a broadcast from Cape Town to the Commonwealth to devote her life, whether it be short or long, to the service of her peoples. That was more than a promise. It was a profound personal commitment which defined her whole life.
King Charles III's first address today. Meanwhile, more tributes have been pouring in for Queen Elizabeth II, who died on Thursday afternoon at the age of 96. Here's Simon Pusey with the update in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Tributes continue to pour in from around the world for Queen Elizabeth II, who died yesterday at the age of 96. The UK's longest reigning monarch passed away peacefully at Balmoral Castle. Today, people have been leaving flowers and personal tributes outside palaces and churches up and down the country. Bells rung out at Westminster Abbey, St Paul's Cathedral and in Windsor at noon. And gun salutes were fired around the UK and abroad. At Hyde Park, the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery firing 96 rounds, one for each year of her life. Earlier, King Charles III, who will be officially proclaimed as king on Saturday, met the waiting crowds at Buckingham Palace. People shouting, "God save the King," as he smiled and chatted to those who had gathered for hours. In Parliament, politicians paid tribute to the UK's longest ever serving monarch.
We have witnessed the most heartfelt outpouring of grief at the loss of Her late Majesty, the Queen. Crowds have gathered, flags have been lowered to half-mast, tributes have been sent from every continent around the world. Her late Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, was one of the greatest leaders the world has ever known.
Today, our country, our people, this House, are united in mourning. Queen Elizabeth II was this great country's greatest monarch. And for the vast majority of us, it feels impossible to imagine a Britain without her. All our thoughts are with her beloved family, our royal family, at this moment of profound grief.
She showed the world not just how to reign over a people, she showed the world how to give, how to love, and how to serve. And as we look back at that vast arc of service, its sheer duration is almost impossible to take in. She was the last living person in British public life to have served in uniform in the Second World War.
The French President Emmanuel Macron laid a white rose in front of a picture of the Queen and signed a guest book in memory of the monarch inside the British Embassy in Paris before giving his own tribute.
We are grateful for her deep affection for France. Elizabeth II mastered our language, loved our culture, and touched our hearts. From her coronation on, she knew and spoke with all of our presidents. No other country had the privilege of welcoming her as many times as we did.
British overseas territories also mourning the Queen's death. Here, people in Gibraltar paying tribute. The sporting world has also marked the occasion, with the Formula One paddock in Monza in Italy observing a minute's silence. Meanwhile, all Premier League football matches have been cancelled this weekend. Elton John paying tribute during his concert in Toronto in Canada.
And she led the country through some of our greatest and darkest moments with grace, decency and a genuine caring warmth. I'm, 75, she's been with me all my life, and I feel very sad that she won't be with me anymore. But I'm glad she's at peace, and I'm glad she's at rest, and she deserves it. She's worked bloody hard. I send my love to her family and her loved ones, and she will be missed. But her spirit lives on, and we celebrate her life tonight with music, okay?
People across the world showing their respect to the UK's longest-serving monarch a day after she died at the age of 96. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. And just how well do we know about the Queen beyond what most of us see on television? Well, staying with the tributes here in Nigeria, there are some who actually had personal encounters with the late monarch, and one of such is former Commonwealth Secretary-General Chief Emeka Anyaoku. Chief Anyaoku has been recounting his experience with the Queen in his official capacity as well as outside official duties. According to him, there's more to the Queen than the glitz and glamour associated with the throne.
Well, I remember the Queen as an exceptional head of the Commonwealth Association and a head of an association to which she was dedicated and fully committed, and her standing and influence on 2 occasions helped the Commonwealth to survive its existential crisis. She was very knowledgeable about major events in Commonwealth countries, and she maintained warm relationships with heads of governments in the Commonwealth. whenever there was a Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, she had audiences with all of them. And of course, as Secretary General, I was privileged to have regular audiences with her. And I found her an immensely committed and knowledgeable person. And she also had a very human touch as a side of her that is not always evident from her official persona. And I'll tell you one story. Every year, the Secretary General and his wife hosts a reception on Commonwealth Day at which Her Majesty was the principal guest. In one of such receptions that my wife and I hosted, I think it was in 1999, our youngest child, our son, I presented him to the Queen, and the Queen asked him what he did, and Heineken, my son, said, "Your Majesty, I'm a student at Birmingham University." Whereupon the Queen said to him, "Oh, I'm coming to your university in 3 weeks' time to join in celebrating your 150th anniversary." And my son said, "Your Majesty, we're all greatly looking forward to your visit." This was on a Monday. 2 days later, on Wednesday, the Vice-Chancellor's office at Birmingham University received a telephone call from Buckingham Palace saying that Her Majesty would like young Anyoku to be at the lunch that the university was hosting for her. This was an unbelievable human touch. And this is just one example. There are other examples I can give you. She was a very human person.
In part two, after the break, we have more on the legacies of Queen Elizabeth II, as we'll be joined by Britain's former Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mr. Robin Gwynne. Plus, President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurates Presidential Committee on National Economy as he seeks to address the issue of crude oil theft. Please stay with us. Let's now get some more perspective into the life of Queen Elizabeth II, especially her role as the head of the Commonwealth of Nations. And we're now being joined by UK's former Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mr. Robin Gwynne. We'd like to welcome you to the News at 10.
Thank you, Millicent. Thanks for having me.
Today we heard King Charles III give his first speech, his first address. What do you make of it, his first full day as monarch?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think at the heart of what we're all going through is, of course, huge sadness and loss and appreciation of the life and the legacy of Her Majesty the Queen. And I think there's nobody on the planet who is feeling that more than King Charles now. So I think he was primarily expressing a very intensely moving and personal tribute to his mother, to the Queen. And I think everybody appreciated that and shared his perspective on that. I think beyond that, he did touch on, I think as you commented in your introduction, on future roles perhaps for members of his family, also his own constitutional role, the way he will approach the job, and indeed his own personal faith, which was also, I think, something new perhaps that he hadn't talked about so much before, and which of course was a hallmark of his mother, the Queen, as well. So I think there were a number of elements, some of which probably don't need to be overanalyzed today, but which give pointers to the way he will conduct the role. But primarily it was a very moving and personal tribute, which I think has certainly been appreciated in the UK and I'm sure around the globe.
Indeed, it's a lot of titles changing, and some would say a lot of stationaries too. But what would you say the Queen meant to the Commonwealth? Do you think that the body can remain strong under King Charles?
Personally, I'm absolutely sure of that. I was very interested to hear the comments from our former Chief Anyaku just now, commenting on how the continued success of the Commonwealth was so much in the DNA, if you like, of the Queen. And I think King Charles now will certainly carry that forward. I mean, it's interesting to reflect, I think, in the UK today, it's barely 24 hours since this sad news broke, but there's very much a feeling, I think, in London more widely, of people coming together, of unifying, of sadly but calmly facing the future. And it may be, and I hope this is true, that in the Commonwealth itself, those same feelings are reflected. And again, it's been very moving to be here in the UK and to see the tributes coming in from all over the world, from the Commonwealth and more widely. And again, I think we are feeling a sense of things coming together rather than drifting apart. And if I may say also, it's often been commented that King Charles had a long period preparing for the role, but of course that is true in the sense that he therefore was able to learn a lot from his mother. He knows a lot about the Commonwealth, he knows a lot about the UK and international issues, so in a sense he could not be better prepared. And it's been interesting, I'm sure, like your viewers, been seeing lots of footage, historic footage perhaps, of the Queen talking about her own father, and that same sense of one generation passing on to another, a vision and techniques, if you like, as well, and knowledge to enable them to do the job to the best of their ability.
Some would say that perhaps we're in for interesting times because perhaps heir to the throne and monarch are two different roles, and we know how outspoken previously Prince Charles has been. Now king might actually be different. But looking at Nigeria and Britain having come a long way, do you see the continuation of these ties under the new monarch?
I'm absolutely sure that will be the case. How could it not be? Even in my own private life, I've had former friends and colleagues from Nigeria expressing their condolences to me and vice versa. I think we're all feeling the same loss and grief. I think it's worth remembering that King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla, I think, were in Nigeria as recently as, was it late 2018? And both in Abuja and Lagos. I know that was a very successful visit. So I feel absolutely sure that the ties between two such important Commonwealth countries and many others in the Commonwealth and globally will be continuing.
We appreciate your time on the news at 10, Mr. Robin Gwynne. Thank you so much. UK's former Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria. Thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you.
Well, let's head off to our Abuja studios. Gloria Mozoke is standing by. Hi, Gloria.
Hello, Millicent. Great to see you. Well, here in Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari says sabotage is responsible for the fall of the country's crude oil production capacity. The president gave this indication today when he inaugurated the Presidential Committee on National Economy in the State House. He urged members of the committee to tackle the distinct challenge while promising that his administration will work assiduously to reverse the trend. President Muhammadu Buhari receives members of the Presidential Committee on National Economy. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, representatives of the Nigeria Governors Forum, policymakers and other members of cabinet are officially inaugurated at this maiden meeting. The president pinpoints the decline in production of crude oil, acknowledging the impact of the menace on the nation's revenue exchange. The president blames sabotage, which he says has led to a production decline at half the nation's OPEC quota.
It is estimated this last month, this is August this year, we produced less than 1 million barrels in August. The fall in production is essentially due to economic sabotage. With the high price of oil in the world markets, producing at about half our OPEC quota has deprived us of much needed revenue and exchange and foreign exchange. Government is working tirelessly to reverse this situation.
He further addresses the debate over fuel subsidy while also defending the nation's borrowing rate.
The debate around fuel subsidies is well noted. However, the right balance needs to be struck to ensure that as we protect our citizens, we do not leave room for inefficiencies and leakages. While citizens' concern about borrowing is well understood, our resort to borrowing must also be appreciated in the context of the resources required to deliver on the menu of the infrastructure, health, and other socio-economic needs of our citizens.
In spite of the global disruptions, including the COVID-19 pandemic and high inflation rate, the president insists the economy is growing. The real challenge, according to him, is resolving salient internal issues which will require urgent intervention to improve macroeconomic and fiscal conditions. The Independent National Electoral Commission has again reiterated its commitment to conducting free, fair and credible elections in 2023 as it gives assurances about strengthening the results management mechanism of the Commission. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, gave the assurance at an election results management roundtable in Abuja.
The launch of the election result analysis dashboard by Yaga Africa is another milestone in efforts to make elections more transparent in Nigeria. The initiative, which has strong support from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and Channels Television, is inspired by the creation of the INEC Result Viewing Portal, the IREV. The INEC Result Viewing Portal was deployed in some of the recent off-season elections conducted in Ekiti and Osun State, and this roundtable offers the opportunity to review its performances and build public confidence in INEC's election results management capacity.
Public trust is essential for the deployment of electoral technology anywhere in the world. Because the whole concept of electoral trust is not blind trust. INEC needs to invest in building confidence on the BVAS and the IREV portal because it can impact on citizens' participation.
Electronic transmission of results is, of course, one of the most progressive provisions of the Electoral Act 2022. Nigerians can relate with these results because there are other processes. Now you can see it. That partnership with Channels Television helped to put this conversation about result transmission in a way that we have never seen in our country.
Over the years, the collection of results has been one of the weakest links in the election management process in Nigeria. However, the electoral umpire believes strongly that the new Electoral Act, which gives backing to the use of technology in the result management process, will help to build more confidence in the system.
We must remain several steps ahead of those who seek to undermine the system. And there are many bad guys in the field trying to undermine the system. But we stand for electoral justice. We'll make sure that the votes cast by Nigerians are protected and the only determinant of who becomes what in our democracy. I commend Yaga and Channels Television for taking this bold step. But I hope that you know that this is only the beginning. However, be assured that the Commission will remain your partner all the way.
INEC will, for the first time in a general elections, be deploying some of its recent technologies, including the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, BVAS, and the INEC Result Viewing Portal, IREV, in the 2023 general elections. The Commission is hoping that these innovations will help to scale up elections transparency and credibility in the 2023 general elections.
Well, Yaga Africa has partnered with Channels Television in the past through the Election Results Analysis Dashboard, ERAD, which aims to promote transparency of election results. Well, still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's forex reserves fall after 3 consecutive weeks of increase. But that's in business news. We'll join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. To politics now. The acceptability of Labour Party's presidential candidate might not translate to victory over the APC in the 2023 general elections, but it is a movement that reassures the Southeast people that they would one day produce the president of the country. Governor David Umahi of Ebonyi stated this today after a private meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House.
It's only God who knows who will win, but there must be a wish. You know, as a party man, I would wish that our party wins. And if God says no, the next person I wish that should win, is, P2B. Because I believe strongly, and I will say it anyway, in this North-South, presidency. After the North has taken 8 years, there is no moral justification to be seeking to take another 8 years. It should go to the South. And so I support, this. And I'm not wishing P2B away. God has the final say, and he has the power. He gives it to whomever he wishes. I think that the movement of P2B is an eyes-opener, and that's why I said I love what he's doing. I'm encouraged by what he's doing, because if he's not doing what he's doing, it means that Southeast would have been forgotten. So while my party takes the victory, he has prepared, he would have prepared a very good ground for the Southeast presidency, so that nobody is going to write us off. And you can see the level of his acceptability, which does not translate to victory over APC. I'm sure of that. But it's a good movement, and it reassures the Southeast people and the entire country that, we are accepted, and that we one day become the president of this country. It's very important.
Well, meanwhile, members of the All Progressives Congress in the Southeast region have been meeting in Owerri, the Imo State capital. The chief host and governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, told the gathering that party faithful in the state in the region will not be intimidated by any sentiments in choosing who to support in the 2023 presidential election. According to him, the APC has all it takes to win the 2023 presidential elections with its credible and strong candidate.
It's a meeting of APC leaders and stakeholders from the Southeast, holding in Owerri, the Imo State capital, at the instance of Governor Hope Uzodimma. According to the organizers, it's a meeting to strategize ahead of the 2023 general elections and how Southeast APC can emerge victorious. One after the other, the leaders address the people on pertinent issues that need to be put into consideration ahead of the 2023 general elections.
We should not be intimidated by any form of misgivings or misinterpretation or bad news for our party. We have the best candidates in all the positions. The elections on the social media is a practical thing. You have no council anywhere. You have no member of House of Assembly anywhere. You have no senator anywhere. No House of Assembly member anywhere. No governor. And you can just come and win the election. You come there, you tie your man, you tie his hands back. He will not work.
Election planning committee, set it up. Finance committee, set it up. Media and propaganda, set it up. We have our youth angle and the women angle. With these 5 properly constituted, Your Excellency, the sky will be our limit.
Reeling out some of the achievements of the Buhari-led federal government in the Southeast, Governor Uzodimma says APC in the region will not be intimidated by propaganda or sentiment, but will run a unified and issue-based campaign.
APC is the party to beat. with you. We will campaign with you. You will not be intimidated by anybody.
This is the second time in the last 2 months that this kind of meeting will take place in Owerri, and the organizers say it will be a periodic one that will help Southeast APC strategize ahead of the 2023 general elections.
And in Rivers State, Governor Nyesom Wike has again restated his commitment to provide the right infrastructure to develop all sectors in the state. Governor Wike stated this while commissioning a reconstructed community secondary school in Obuama in Degema local government area. The project was commissioned by the former governor of Ekiti State, Mr. Ayo Fayoshi.
After 3 days of unveiling the different campuses of the Rivers State University, Governor Nyesom Wike is spreading out to the secondary sector with the reconstruction of this community secondary school, Obuama, the home of his deputy in Degema local government area. And the honors for today's commissioning falls on the former governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayoshi. The project comprises of 24 classrooms, staff quarters, sporting facilities, among others. Satisfied with the physical infrastructure at this school, the special guest hails Wike's achievements in Rivers State.
Rivers State has been here for long, but today we can see the difference. An average Rivers man is proud to be from Rivers. They are proud to say you are their governor. Forget whatever anybody says about you. I said it before, Wike, a man with a fierce look, but a good heart.
For Governor Wike, a good environment such as this will inspire quality learning, even as he announces plans to do same in the health and other sectors.
To God be the glory. We have been able to put in our best to make it be a proper secondary school that our children will not only have access to education, but also have quality education. By the time we finish, we also go back to the health sector and let the state see what we have done in the health sector. So for me, it is touching all around the sectors because no one sector can be said to be more important.
The project is then commissioned. In order to raise the status of this community secondary school, Governor Wike approves the request by the community stakeholders to construct hostel accommodations for the school.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Gloria. And now to some company news. Winners have emerged in the grand finale of Season 5, Fidelity Bank's Get Alert in Millions promo. According to the financial institution, the promotion is aimed at driving up a saving culture within Nigerian businesses, with winners drawn from various spheres of life.
So they are 1 million, and they are here right here in Lagos.
In this room are lucky winners of Fidelity Bank's Get Alert in Millions promotion, which is in its 5th season.
Lucky! A lucky winner!
This year, the financial institution set aside 125 million naira to give back to customers who operated accounts with a minimum of 2,000 naira as the entry ticket over the past 9 months. For consolation prizes, there were weekly draws of 10,000 naira for 50 people and monthly draws of 1 million naira for 10 people. While the grand prize winner got 10 million naira, second place went home with 5 million naira, and 2 million naira went to the third place winner.
Every 2,000 naira saved in your account gives you a ticket.
The financial institution explains the philosophy behind the Give Back promotion.
The objectives of the Game 5 promo, which stands for Get Alert in Millions, this is our 5th season, is in line with the regulatory body's objective to deepen financial inclusion. And this is about bringing financial services closer to every Nigerian, not just in the urban areas, but in the rural areas.
For the winners, it's an opportunity of a lifetime that began with 2,000 naira.
The advice I have for other Nigerians, everybody to open Fidelity account, because this is real. Because I think this thing is not real. This is real. For everybody to open Fidelity account. All my family say we open this Fidelity account. You know, it's good. For my business, I'll increase my business. I will add the money in my business and increase it. From now to 1 year, I'll make more than that money again.
I was happy, at the same time shocked, because every time I see the whole promo stuff with banks, I just assume it's like some kind of marketing strategy per se you get. So this is what, like, something personal, like being in the situation and like I can vouch for it and say, okay, yeah, this actually works, right?
Fidelity Bank is a full-fledged commercial institution operating in Nigeria with over 5 million customers serviced across 250 business offices and various other digital channels. The Get Alert in Millions promo is its way of saying thank you with optimism that it will increase its customer base.
And Nigeria's premium lager beer, Heineken, reinforced its status as Nigeria's foremost brand in bringing people together as it launched 2 bespoke bars at the Ikoyi Club 1938's main clubhouse and golf section. Speaking at the launch, the managing director of Nigerian Breweries PLC, Mr. Hans Esadi, said it is a proud and exciting moment for them as they deepen the partnership and look forward to further relations with the longest-standing membership-only club.
The main clubhouse and golf section of Ikoyi Club 1938 came alive as Nigerian Breweries PLC, makers of Heineken premium lager beer, hosted members of the club and guests for the opening of exquisitely furnished bars. Members and management of the club, as well as executives of Nigerian breweries led by the MD CEO, Mr. Hans Esadi, then watch as the tape is cut and the first bar declared open.
What we've done here is uplifting the face of the place and really giving it an international look and feel. So consumers and members should be assured of a very world-class drinking experience.
When quality profile meets quality profile, it's just to continue with quality. And that's what we stand for in Nigerian breweries, particularly Heineken as a brand.
The next port of call is the golf section, where guests are first treated to music, food and drinks before the needful is done. For Heineken, its choice of a partnership with Ikoyi Club 1938 reiterates its world-class quality, while the club believes this signals a renewed commitment to offering best-in-class social experiences.
Nigerian Breweries has been in this market for 75 years. We have a great legacy. We're in here for the long term. Ikoyi Club is one of the legacy clubs in the country. As a brand, as a company, you want to be part of that, to grow together and to make sure that we secure a proper future for Nigeria.
One thing about Ikoyi Club is the prices of the drinks. I mean, Heineken is cheaper than what obtains outside. And the fact that it's readily available. We have 8 sections at the Ikoyi Club and we have 14 bars. And Heineken, or not just Heineken, the products of MBL is sold in all, and it's something that is being enjoyed by everybody.
The bars combine many of the attributes of the exclusive and beautiful terrace that has come to be associated with Nigeria's longest-standing membership-only club, applying them to ensure all members are treated to elevated moments of camaraderie.
Now time for some business news. Here's Teniola Oyetayo.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's FX reserves recorded a decline after 3 consecutive weeks of increase as it fell by $81.74 million week on week to $38.92 billion as at September the 6th. The fall in the country's external buffer can be attributed to fluctuations in oil prices on the international market and Nigeria's low oil production levels. Meanwhile, some analysts believe that flexibility in the exchange rate will be significant in attracting foreign inflows back to the market. And the equities market continued with positive sentiments into the final trading day of the week. Will Ibong tells us more.
Welcome to the stock market report. The NGX risking more gains today, not so much, but enough to close the final trading day in the green and for a second straight day. Investors are yet to take an aggressive stance as the all-share index is still struggling to catch its breath below the 50,000 level and with just a slight 0.09 uptick today. We saw that reflected in the overall activity as the volume value was lower than the numbers that came in yesterday. NEM insurance stocks rallied today. We saw that up 7.62% alongside other big names though. Closed at 5 naira 65 kobo, while Honeywell flour went to the butchers. It appears the market is still so far away from where it needs to be, and some investors are wondering if equities have already priced in the next tightening cycle. And that's the stock market report. I'm Will Ibang. Back to you.
And that's Business News Tonight. I'm Teniola Oyitayo. It's back to Millicent for the rest of the news at 10.
Thanks, Daniela. We go outside our shores where it is the consensus of more than 2,000 delegates at the end of the African Green Revolution Forum this week in Kigali that there is a need for collaboration in fast-tracking progress, capacity building as a response to the various shocks affecting the continent's food systems. Current and former heads of state and government leaders declared their commitment to supporting and driving efforts to build food security and transform food systems in Africa. Our correspondent Ayola Kassim has more.
Despite progress, Africa's food system urgently needs further radical transformation. Many countries still struggle to achieve food security and provide diverse, nutritious choices for their populations. Supply chains that bring food to market are often long and fragmented, leading to significant waste and higher costs for consumers. This is exacerbated by climate change. But this week in Kigali, the consensus is that this situation must change.
We call upon governments, development partners, civil society, the private sector, farmers to turn promises into action, and let that action also be accompanied by investments. Africa's food systems must transform to fight poverty, eliminate hunger, and adapt to climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our time. This is what we have been discussing all week. This is what we would like to make sure that the world knows that is emerging from the AGRF. I encourage you to take this message to the rest of the world, and let's make it happen.
And to achieve this, the organizers of the AGRF unveil a new strategy that will run till 2027, and it will cost around $550 million. This targets 28 million farmers in 15 countries. It also focuses on developing seed systems, sustainable farming, inclusive market and trade, climate adaptation, among others.
We have agreed to support SMEs and smallholder farmers as the biggest risk takers across the value chain, and to build their capacity to absorb shocks over multiple growing cycles. We have agreed to facilitate and increase investments across value chains, especially, once again, for our smallholder farmers. We are committed to accelerating access and affordability of finance with new tools and technological developments, including digital technology.
At the end of the day, the forum calls on global leaders to mobilize investment of $200 billion per year into adaptive food systems across Africa and urge member states to address the food systems transformation this November at the climate conference in Egypt.
We committed to drive climate-smart agriculture and improving climate finance as we are preparing for COP27. Africa will need a common position to put our houses in order. We will work with the African Union to strengthen Africa's position and voice.
What has been said during different sessions here is that it is time for Africa to work together across other key systems to provide better diet for all, while also sustaining the planet for future generations. Ayola Kasim, Channels Television News.
Please, a round of applause.
Hello and welcome to Sports News. All English and Scottish football has been postponed this weekend following the Queen's death on Thursday. The English Premier League, the Championship, League One and League Two have all been postponed, as well as the start of the new Women's Super League season and all non-league and grassroots fixtures. The Scottish FA also announced that the SPFL, SWPL and Highland and Lowland leagues have agreed that professional football matches will be postponed. The Vice Chairman of the Betsy Obaseki Football Tournament Board of Trustees and Deputy Governor of Edo State, Mr. Philip Shaibu, has described the Say No to Drugs theme of this year's edition as apt in the face of current challenges in the country due to drug abuse. Mr. Shaibu was speaking at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium during the opening ceremony of the tournament. Nigerian champions Bayelsa Queens have been drawn in the CAF Champions League, or as the defending champions, or against the defending champions, that is, Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa in Group B of the CAF Women's Champions League. Now, also in Group B are Wadi Degla of Egypt and the representatives from UNIFAC, that's the Central African Football Federation Union. In Group A, the host club Asfar FC of Morocco will square up against Simba Queens of Tanzania, with Green Buffaloes and Zambia and the Determined Girls of Liberia also in the same group. Well, the second edition of the CAF Women's Champions League is scheduled to take place from 30th of October to November the 13th in Morocco. UEFA has opened disciplinary proceedings against Nice and Cologne after Thursday's Europa Conference League tie in France was delayed because of violent clashes between rival supporters. The fans fought in the stands of Nice's Allianz Riviera with flares thrown. The police intervened to end the trouble, and the game kicked off for 55 minutes after it was originally scheduled to begin. Well, both sides have been charged for crowd disturbances, throwing of objects and lighting of fireworks. And that's Sports News. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Ayotunde. And the main news again. Britain's King Charles III today addressed the nation for the first time, where he paid glowing tributes to his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. In the televised speech, he spoke of his feelings of profound sorrow at the Queen's death on Thursday at the age of 96. Also today, President Muhammadu Buhari called for the issue of crude oil theft to be addressed as he inaugurated the Presidential Committee on the National Economy. That's your news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.